Hi everyone. This is Aniket D'Souza, and welcome to another Tuesday talk session. And in today's session, I thought let's do something different. Let's do something that's quick, and I want to kind of cover up one of the major challenges that I've always had. So we're going to talk about that today. So what we're going to do is, I generally get calls for a quick consultation, and it's more about and at that point of time, the focus is always towards how fast can I analyze a page and give my inputs, right? So that's what we're going to do today. The topic that I have is how fast can you analyze a social media account or a social media page, and that's what we're going to do. What I want you to basically look at is to primarily look at the key things that I kind of observe, so that you get an idea of what are the things that are the important metrics that I actually look for, and from there onwards you can basically evaluate how you can do it for yourself as well. So let's head over to that. So let's head over to the browser. Okay, so now I've just opened up a page. So let's look at analyzing KLM India. Okay, so KLM is one of the leading airlines. It's a leading Dutch airline. So I'm just going to look at analyzing KLM India, and I'm just going and browsing KLM India just like you would normally do. So this is KLM India. It's a verified account. So these are things that I generally look at when I'm directly looking at the page. Okay. And the next thing that I look at is how many people are there on the page. So which I can see over here, it's somewhere at around 220,000 people. And you can see the first kind of a message. So from this, I kind of get an understanding saying that, okay, this is more of, I mean, they're trying to be more social, at least for the India market. So if that was the case, if when I look at this, I immediately look at, okay, if this is how India is, let's look at how KLM Global is operating itself. So as far as I know that the Facebook URL for KLM Global is KLM. It's just KLM. So I'm just going to head over to the global page and see how the global team is actually doing, and how differently are they doing their page, or they're managing their page versus the India page. So let's go below, and you can see the screen here. So the first few things that you will obviously look at is, okay, they're focused on book now, which obviously means that they're focused more on sales directly from their Facebook page, and that's what they're looking for. So you can see that that's basically what it is. You can see that they're focused more on the repatriation flights that are out there. So yeah, so this is basically their communication. So if you have a look at it up front, there is a bit of communication that's happening primarily from the global page. It's not actually the India page that's having this kind of content. It's more global in nature. So let's look at something else. Well, they're actually kind of just announcing updates of their flight. So you can see over here that the last post that they have done is on 20th August, which means that it's more likely they do not have an agency right now, right? So KLM India does not have an agency. It doesn't look like they have an agency. So you can see that it's 20th August, and after 20th August, there's absolutely no updates. So that's what has happened. So you can see, if you go down 11th May, you can see 30th March, you can see 23rd March. Now these are things, just keep an eye on this. These are things that I generally look at. So you have 23rd March, and let's look at it below. 22nd March, 22nd March, yeah, 18th March, 17th March, 17th March. So they were more consistent before, and then post-COVID, they've kind of paused on most of their activities. You can also see that there's not kind of, and there's no kind of monitoring at all. So there are people kind of shouting all over on their page. Nothing of it is kind of monitored. So yeah, one more thing that I can notice here is they are actually sharing a blog article. So you see quick things that you can actually notice. They're sharing a blog article. What kind of links are they sharing? So over here they had changed the profile picture. I look at it down. Let's go down. Let's see what else is basically being spoken of. So then I look at, I'm currently looking at the content, evaluating what kind of content has been shared. So they have random pictures of images. Obviously, they're not going directly talking about sales all the time, but they're focusing more on, having a conversation with their audience. So that's what they're looking for. Yeah. And the rest of it is all from a large perspective. It's more just formal communication regarding their flights or regarding information regarding what they are doing and how they are trying to contribute in the times of crisis. Let's look at what the international page is doing. So one, the international page is not really having a very quieter message, so they don't have this social message out there, right? It's very different. It's more vibrant. So they're just showing how they still fly. How are they actually flying currently? And you can see here the way they speak, right? So while you see the way they speak over here in the India account, which is pretty standard, like it's very similar to something that's just an announcement made in an airport. So you would actually see something like this. It's pretty basic. It's not very polished. That's not there on the international page. So the international page, on the other hand, focuses more towards inspiration. So that's what it is. So you can see the kind of comments that are there, the kind of posts that are put up, how their air filtration system is, and providing clean cabin air and stuff like that. So it's more towards safety, health, travel. That's the direction that they have taken, at least on the international page. So you can see how, and let's see if they're actually responding to people. Okay, so they're currently not responding to people, or at least not the latest comments. Yes, they are also talking about norms. What are the kind of norms that should be followed during the flight? But they're also looking at, they're talking about their milestones. That's what I can see as part of their content. And if you see if you see the style of communication, they're using a lot of emoticons. That's something that you will notice on the KLM page, and it's maximum about two emoticons. That's the limit that they're looking at. But on the other hand, they also have something like a series that they've created called KLM Answers. It's the same thing that's been pushed onto the Indian account that we noticed over here, right? So this is part of the series of KLM answers. It's the same thing. So basically, it's the international content that's actually going up on the page. So you can see how they're actually talking about how different things are being done sorry, different things are being done during the crisis, and how is KLM actually picking up. So these are generally the things that I look at analyzing. So let's look at the next platform, which is Twitter. So I'm just gonna close these, and I'm gonna switch to Twitter. So I've also seen one of the challenges that most brands, most employees, or most people who are into digital marketing face is that they're not able to identify which is the right Twitter handle. So I'm just going to look at that right now. So what you'd have to generally do is just type Twitter KLM India, and the most relevant result actually ends up on the top. Okay, so this is something that I've seen in the past. So you can see that there are two KLM accounts. So there is KLM India account, and there is the KLM global account. All right, so let's open that up and see what they're doing on Twitter. Just checking if you can see all the things that I'm doing. Yeah. All right, so while we wait until it loads, now the reason why it's taking a long time because it's I'm also streaming live, and that's the reason why it's kind of taking a bit longer time. But one of the things that I've focused on when it comes to Twitter is it's not about how many followers you have; it's about how many people are talking to you, right? So if I were to check how active is this Twitter handle, I would simply go to not tweets, but I would actually check out tweets and replies. That's the first thing that I would do. Yes, they have 48814 followers, but I'm more concerned about how often do they reply. So you see November 5th, November 6th, so it'll take about 1 day to reply, and they're kind of so they're not currently, using their Twitter handle as a customer support account. They're currently directing everything to their phone accounts and stuff like that. Obviously, because if they don't have an agency and they don't have an ORM team, then this is what they would generally do, right? So that's what's happening. They also are directing people to their blog article or press note, all of that. So the next thing is that I'm going to also evaluate is how many people are talking to the account, and the way to actually look at it is something that I've done in another tutorial as well. So let's look at who is talking to KLM India and how much is that intensity, right? So if I'm going to shift over here to KLM India and I quickly search on latest to see, so I did see that November 6th was obviously responded. Now you have November 8th, which is not responded. So you can see this conversation here, and you can see November 6th, you can see November 5th, November 5th, November 5th. This is basically the same person, which means they're roughly having about 1 to 2 conversations, and sometimes even less in a week. So basically, the KLM account is not very active. So generally, what I do is I look at it this way. I look at it like how many conversations is a brand having, or how many conversations are incoming for a brand in a week's time. So this will kind of give you an understanding. Right, so the same thing, let's do it with the KLM Twitter international account. And you can see over here, I shift to tweets and replies, and you should be able to see, yeah, they're responding instantly. If you see here, 59 minutes ago and 50 minutes ago, they've already responded something, right? So that's how fast they are. They are active, they are live. Now, the reason why I actually took up KLM as an account to actually follow up is because KLM is an account I've been following for almost a good about 10 years, 10 to 12 years, right? Right from the time they actually did big on social. I was in touch with someone from the KLM social media team, and they told me when the volcano hit of Yafia Cool, you know, uh, the KLM team was the one who was, kind of pushing in flights, trying to move people from one location to another. And at that point of time, because Twitter was existent and Twitter was just growing, there were a lot of people who were stranded, and Twitter, they kind of handled. There was a 60-member team to handle the kind of rate of incoming tweets, and they kind of handled the customer support via Twitter itself, and this was done on the global account. So that's the reason why I've always had an affinity towards the KLM international account. I've not really seen that for the Indian account. In fact, you can see here the Indian account is literally silent. They've not been doing much conversation, nor they are actually getting any kind of interactions from people. So let's look at how KLM performs when people are, and how many people are actually talking to KLM in a week's time. So let's look at their global account right now. We're just looking at their global account. So you can see over here, November 10th, 43. Okay, so 43 minutes ago. So this is all right now. It's happening live. So you can see 47, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. So you can count the number of tweets that are happening here. Okay, it does not require a software. In fact, this is all the mentions that you can see of a particular brand. You don't really need software, but you can actually see that there's a huge a bank of consumers who are reaching out to KLM. And at this point of time, it actually makes sense to also have a bot, and parallelly also have a Twitter account that you can personalize. So generally, when you look at when you look at a conversation that's heavy, I generally recommend that brands go in for a bot as well as a personalized approach. So it's both, it's automated and a personalized approach. So that's where you can see how I'm analyzing the Twitter account. There's obviously the content of it makes a lot of make a lot of sense. Of yes, if you had software, then you could also kind of evaluate what are people talking about. Kind of gives you much value when you actually go and talk to a client. It's instant, and you can actually see the kind of results live. So that's an advantage that's always there if you have access to a software, typically in the range of, let's say, 60,000, 70,000 bucks a month. If you have the bandwidth, then yes, you can always go for the software. But nevertheless, talking about, how do you analyze quickly, these are things that I generally look at. Do I look at anything else? Yes, at times I do look at lists as well. So I kind of look at what lists KLM has, go to their profile, see if they have done something different, if they have something interesting on their timeline. So generally, you can go up at media, or you can actually have a look at what kind of content do they like, whether that do they kind of like most of their tweets of consumers, or are they kind of liking sorry only the only the customer testimonials. These are things that are something that are quite important when you kind of evaluate whether this is whether what the brand is doing. So let's now shift over to Instagram. Let's have a look at what are the things that you could actually look on Instagram, right? So I'm going to head over to instagram.com/KLM. This is the global account. Let's also look at what are they doing on Instagram for the India account. Yeah, so I'm assuming that this is the handle. I don't really know whether this is the KLM India is the actual handle. Yes, so as you can see over here, they're not really doing anything. They've in fact just put it as an announcement, like as usual, right? But so let's just have a look at what they are actively doing. So you can see that the Instagram account of KLM Global is very active, right? So you can see how exciting their page looks. Just with even their highlights are very exciting. So you can actually go and check out each one of them when you kind of look at analyzing, because yes, their current focus is on travel updates, their current focus is on inspiring journeys, the current focus is also on highlights. They're obviously cross-posting. Most of the content that you can see over here is kind of cross-posted. I think that some of the content might not be cross-posted. As you can see over here, these might not necessarily be cross-posted. Some of the content is cross-posted. So they have definitely, they've not got a central approach. They've got a little bit more that they do on Instagram, which they don't do it on Facebook and Twitter. So that's something that you can actually see as part of an approach. Do they respond to people? Well, as long as you, I mean, if you actually get into the account, that's when you actually get to see if they are actually responding to people. So let's have a look at that. Yes, they are responding to people. So in that case, KLM is responding to people, so there's no problem with that. Considering their base is about 1.3 million, their number of interactions seems legible. They're not actually, I don't think they are actually boosting any posts here. Like this is a normal update, which has got a few interactions. This is an IGTV content. So they're doing IGTV, they're doing carousels, they're doing static updates. You can see how the kind of interactions happening on a static update versus an inspirational post, or basically posts that are connected to their flights, right? So this is like just a standard conversational post. If you click on this, it's going to be talking more about, okay, going into the sun, or something like that. Yeah, thank you for being a queen. So they are actually talking about um, fairly generic content. Nothing very specific, or nothing driving sales or stuff. The same thing goes over here. They're actually going ahead with this kind of content as well. So so they're primarily promoting tourism, travel. That's still something that they are promoting. and they're talking about health and safety. So that's something that's there right now generally. But KLM India account is we said earlier, is not really doing much. It's obviously reposting content. It's obviously kind of talking about general informative only. They're not doing anything much. So like I said, they're not very active as well in the India market. So let's shift to YouTube. Let's have a look at what we are going to see and what you're going to find on the YouTube account. I'm just going to shift over to and see if KLM is there. Right. So let's look at that. So another thing that you would always see is a lot of people look at it this way, that you have to have a verified account if you have to grow big. I disagree with that completely. It's not necessary that you need to have a verified account. Verified account actually helps you, um, you know, helps people or users get to know that, okay, this is the real account. A lot of times, people do not know which is the right account, or which is are they actually following the right account, and that's the only differentiating factor. But generally, what people also see is they also look at how active the page is when you actually visit a page, right? So they have got about 206. They obviously are doing series and playlists. All these videos are also shared on the Facebook and social Facebook pages. If you see over here on YouTube, they are obviously doing cover screens, plus they are doing and they're uploading the same video that they have actually created. So it's the same video. It's been uploaded on YouTube. It's uploaded on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and once it's done on YouTube, when it goes up, it also has a cover screen so that it looks good on the on a horizontal view, right? So this is, if you see over here, that's exactly what it is. You can see a black spot. That's because the videos were actually shot for Square, but they've actually created a video with a cover screen, right? So that's what they have been doing. Let's see if they are actually optimizing YouTube for SEO. So we're gonna quickly have a look at that as well. So if I click on see more, so you can see over here, this page is obviously optimized. So they have a dedicated YouTube strategy here in terms of what they are doing. They know what they're doing in terms of the YouTube content. They're obviously going deeper in terms of what's being shared, how the structuring is of a YouTube video, what kind of content is required, how do we optimize it, all of that. Plus they have updates that are given and added in these videos, right? So which means that they definitely have a dedicated YouTube strategy. So since KLM is not anyway, KLM India is not doing anything. I'm not even just going to look at the KLM YouTube account, but that wraps up. That wraps up the analysis. So if you have a look at the time that I've taken, it's roughly about 20 to 24 minutes to actually quickly understand a gist of what's happening on both the KLM India page as well as the KLM International page. So I've kind of analyzed two pages in such a short duration. So that's something that you could also look at. But let's say if I were to actually put this in a format, maybe go deeper into looking into the details, like, okay, let's do a comparison with putting in how many followers do they have and what's the comparison like. And at that point of time, it would take slightly more time, because you would then have to actually put a structure on a slide deck and then actually end up putting all the details. But for now, if you were to look at this, that's basically what it entails, right? So tell me how you like this video. That's what we're going to cover for today. So tell me how you like this video. If you have any kind of comments, please drop them. And if you have any opinions, if you have any suggestions, if you think I missed something, please share that in your feedback as well. And if there are better ways to actually analyze in even more